Greetings, welcome. This should be the last video that I'm going to go through regarding the national filing, because the national filing is complete. The first thing that I want you to know that nothing is black and white, so you may have to modify things, you may have to adjust things if you run into some roadblocks or some resistance that you just can't seem to get around. Now, it's very important that when you run into resistance that you do your full due diligence, just as I do, and then you have to know that there becomes a certain point where this resistance is for good cause, so you continue to move on. So, an example is the recording of the affidavit of title on the certificate of live birth. As if you follow, you've seen that I have been exhausting that process, making sure that I left no stone unturned. So you can go through here and read this cover letter, which is the last response that I responded to a rejection letter, which is very important, very significant, because it goes into the research. It goes into exactly what we're doing, why it's lawful, why it's lawful, and we cite specific authorities, right? And in the same letter, we're requesting the oath of office and the fidelity bond in the event they want to refuse to record the affidavit without providing a valid reason or citation of their authority to do so. But at the same time, I doubt they're going to reject it. But if they did reject it, I would just continue to move on into my UCC filing. So this is very thorough. It's very complete. The first thing that I have to say that's most significant is nothing is black and white, and therefore you should not just copy verbatim. This is a very important thing, and I can't express it enough. You shouldn't use the same font that I use, the exact same words that I use, the same template of some people are copying the documents exactly. They're not making them personal. They're not adding their own research to the documents, and that is not what the master file is for, and it's not going to work for you like that. This is an instructional, teaching, and a learning tool. At no time should you be in a rush to do anything. If you don't understand something in here and you have something very important coming up, it really doesn't matter. This is not going to help you by you rushing to get through it when there's certain things in here that you don't understand. And if you contact me, I can tell if you've done any research. If I can see you haven't even made an attempt to figure out that which you don't understand, I'm not going to just cast my pearls before swines, if you will. So, to whom much is given, much is required. That's why I am giving to you. But you also have to know that this is going to require a lot of you. It's going to require some study, right? I put all the resources here. And I put enough resources here that you can direct your own study into different areas. So there you have it. But it's very important that you don't just copy things verbatim. You should always be adding to or putting it into your own words, or at least fixing the punctuation errors, right? When you copy exactly, it leads right back to the website, and it shows, more importantly, that you have no competence. I'm going to read something from some notes that I took here, and then I'm going to go into this. And this is not going to be a full-blown where I go into every detail of the master file. You have to study all of these references here. Here's a reference. Here's a reference. Everything here is a video or a reference. Everything on this first page relates to this UCC filing right here. That's what all of these different things, all of this. I don't know if you can see this. I'm circling it. Maybe I can highlight all of these different links. So don't get confused. This is just a lot of research, a lot of videos, a lot of things for you to consider, but they all lead to this UCC filing right here, the master filing, and these are the things that we've studied and other things that have drawn us to the conclusions of why we decided to record this the way that we have. And I'm going to go into a little bit of that, but I just really want to touch on some of the important things because many things I've already said in other videos. And there's other videos too, but so many of you guys that have been following, so you've seen those things. So just don't get confused. There's, as we always say, there's the national filing, which is on this first page here, which is under UCC Article 8, deals with security entitlements, principal interest, that type of thing. Our affidavit of title and beneficial ownership, lien, claim, title over the estate, that type of thing. Not a security agreement, which would be under Article 9, secured party creditor authenticated with the debtor, and all of those things. All of the Article 9 filings stuff is here, and I'm working on that now. The very next video that I make would probably be about this, and no more talking about the national filing, because this is the finish up right here. Everything in here is done. Maybe some small updates in the background, but I don't foresee any major updates. So this is really important. The most important lesson that I've learned in my, let's say, 6 or so years, I think I actually started in 2011, so more than 2011. But the most important lesson that I learned is that there was a time in the beginning when I was looking for an authoritative figure or someone outside of myself to make the proper determination for me about what to accept, what to understand, and what to know to be true about the private side or everything outside of the matrix, because I was newly awakened. But in the process of studying, looking to other people, studying, looking to myself, and trying to figure out what works, and actually working on myself, actually applying the things that I've known, applying the things that I learned, including principles and spiritual principles, to my life and learning things. And the biggest lesson that I've learned is to know that I am created equal with everyone else. So I don't have to be an attorney or a judge or anyone else to be competent to know and to comprehend whatever it is that I'm reading, right? I just had to know that about myself, not just what I'm reading, but whatever I'm studying. I don't have to wait for someone else to make the final determination. I had to learn that over time. And it's not to say that I knew everything, because I didn't and I don't now. And I always stand to be corrected. But the reason why it became so important to have the confidence in my own ability to dissect, grasp, and understand, and to have that kind of confidence and to be able to depend on myself for that, is because if you rest your confidence in a psyche of somebody that you can't control, then you're just going to be running around in circles forever. So I guess I'm saying you have to build a point of reference on that which you understand and that which you know. So that's why I put all these references in here, right? And this is why you have to go through them. You can't, and I can tell when people call me and they're saying, well, what should I do? Or they're asking me a question not based off of really wanting to understand. They're asking a question based off of hoping that I can give them a remedy or fix a problem for them. So that goes without saying. So when you're not operating like that, you are naturally making corrections, looking for errors, because you don't want your document to go out with an error, right? It's that serious for you. It's about being the executive for your own estate. The only thing I can really relate it to is, being in the Marine Corps, working for generals. I've worked for a couple of generals in their staff office and their direct office too. When I say direct office, I mean like working in the staff section where the general is. I work for General Pace. I work for General Labuti. And these are Marine Corps generals, and some of them have made it up to national levels. But the thing that you really begin to learn is they have these staff meetings every day, and you have different people that represent different areas of the military, or let's say in any other model, the economy. but the not the economy, but let's say the oh yeah, you can say the economy. For example, you got transportation, you got logistics, you've got information technology. But all of these people are just there to advise you. You make the final determination. This is how you have to feel about yourself, especially when you're dealing with that straw man. I know I seem knowledgeable, but you can't look at me as being more knowledgeable than you, or being because you are created equal. This is the biggest lesson that I can share with you, because then you're gonna start taking that ownership role. You're gonna have to develop a new type of confidence that you probably haven't had before. And I want to share with you, you cannot play the victim role. Don't make no excuses for yourself. It has nothing to do with your age, your weight, your disposition, your disease, your skin color. All men are created equal, meaning you have an endless amount. Well, I can't say I'll tell you what it means to me. I may have to use more cycles to get to where you are, maybe because of my dispositions, but I have an endless amount of resource. How much focus and intensity do I want to put behind it? How much effort, persistence, and perseverance. That's all up to me. It may take me longer. I may get there faster because I have an advantage. But I haven't. But we all have an endless resource, and you have to exercise it. It's like your mind. You really have to exercise it. In my upper 30s, I am operating on a higher capacity than I've ever operated in my life. I never thought that I would even be able to conceive or comprehend some of the things that I'm talking about, not just concepts and law. I'm talking about very technical things. Very technical things. You know what I'm saying? And that is because it goes back to just as I was telling you, how much discipline, persistence, because you can do everything. We all have this infinite resource within us. Many of us haven't used it. Many of us don't even know how to use it. We don't have any faith or confidence or beliefs in ourselves. And that is your disposition. It's not your age or any of these other things that you shouldn't be measuring yourself by. And it doesn't matter what your situation is. If you're going to start exercising your mind, your discipline, and striving for a higher awareness, you just got to start. Now, I also want to say this, and then I'm going to get on to it. I'm off the subject a little bit, but this is very important because I want to share whatever I can to help you get this stuff. It is all connected. So you have to make dietary changes. You have to make lifestyle changes. You have to make changes that are consistent in alignment with what it is you need to be doing. I had to take in a lot of information. I was so serious about that. I didn't discredit nature and say, oh, I'm special because I got a gift. I don't have to put in the work. No, I changed my diet. I'm very careful what I eat, very careful what I drink, and the physical part, my breathing. I do all of this because I have to be able to research for long hours. Sometimes I'm in such a zone getting information that sleep isn't beneficial for that moment. So I've taken all these things into consideration. This is the discipline. It's in the lifestyle. I have fun. I hang out. I go play. I do that stuff too. So I'm not trying to say that you have to become, a robot or something like that. But you have to take this stuff really serious because this is real stuff. I mean, I've had an amazing, humongous remedy, and I'm not going to talk about it because I'm not here for that. As y'all always know, I'm just here to share and help us demonstrate competency. This is not about remedies. I'm not trying to sell you anything. Okay, that being said, the master file is $150. I'm just joking. I'm not joking. It is for a donation of $150, but rest assured, I am doing something bigger than I doubt any of y'all are thinking of what I'm doing. I'm in the background doing something, right? I'm all in the future doing something in the past. I'm all in the future doing something in the past right now. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's get into it. Let me look through my notes, see if there's anything else I need to say. No, there's nothing else I need to say. So here's the national fouling. I'm just going to go through this quick because many things have already been said. Here's one thing that's, let me see if I can, issue here. Okay, so this is, I thought about this, look this up. I'm going to go through this real fast so you can already go back and rewind this video. Once again, do not rush. I'm not going to, I was going to do something, but that would be dishonest. I was going to say, like, you could get yourself in trouble if you do this and you don't know what you're doing, but I don't want to be promoting no fear, because I really don't think that's the case. You're trying to measure your own fears, but don't go out there. You make us look bad, you make yourself look bad, and you put, like, you just don't want to do that. Take your time. Don't make a move until you understand, right? I may be too busy to coach you, but I have at least one or two other brothers that can explain this master file, and maybe I could set you up with them for like a $50 coaching session if you want somebody's time to really sit down and go into things that you don't understand. You just want a better breakdown. And then some people are like, this is all they need. I understand there's babies, and then there's graduates. I understand that, all the like. So I'm saying you have to know where you are and don't move too fast. Okay, so here we go. Let's just zip through this. Obviously, if you don't know that this comes off of here, then you don't need to be filing the UCC no time this year. This is just something I put here. If you're trying to figure out where do you get that form from, it's nowhere near time for you to be recording. I'm not even answering any of those questions because these are basic questions, And it's not a bad thing. Just know that you have access to this, because I'm really about to close this off. Not completely, but the way you got access to it, it's going to be different. And it's probably not going to be for $150 real soon. So you always have access to it. I'm going to be updating it. It ain't going nowhere. I have records. No need to rush. I didn't rush. I never rushed. Right? So, now, first thing, look at that, how it popped up on the screen here. John Alex Doe Trust. It's not really required. You don't even have to fill this box out. This box is optional. Actually, it doesn't say it's optional. Send acknowledgement too. But I think this whole box is optional. Anyways, let me show you something real quick. You don't have to do this, but I just kind of read this. This is how you set up the general delivery. This is how you would do it. And I'm going to explain what it is. And then I want you to look this up, because I'm kind of just doing this on the fly. I didn't really look it up before this video. But many of us have seen general delivery before, didn't really know how it worked. Well, what it is this. Is the John Alex Doe Trust. Not really commercial. I guess, if you want to look at it that way. Then you have the trustee. So you put general delivery. What that lets it know is you put general delivery, and you put the zip code of the post office where you want the mail to be delivered. And then, so that'd be your closest or your most local post office. And then you add 9999. That's the queue that this mail stops at the post office, general delivery. So you have to walk into the counter, perhaps with some identification saying, hey, I'm the trustee for the John Doe Trust. Look here to pick up general delivery mail if you're expecting something. Do you have to do this on the UCC? No, not unless it's in a, some of you will, and I'm certain of that. That's why I showed it here. But it doesn't mean everybody has to do that. You know what I'm saying? This is where I say using your own discretion and setting things up for your estate. Trust registration statement. I'm not going to say anything. Let me get out of this thing over here. Hold on. Yeah, this trust registration statement. I'm not going to say any more about that, because I've said a lot about it in other videos. It's very significant, very important. This is your UCC1 is actually a lien, so when you get into this, what you have to look at is UCC Article 8, Securities Entitlement. Look up what chattel paper is, what, look up, see, chattel paper, electronic chattel paper, issuer of an instrument, the maker of an instrument, all of these different things, because what essentially, just to keep it quick, talked about in other videos, this is what we call an Article 8 filing, registering that security entitlement, that title that beneficial ownership, which is different from the UCC 1 financing statement under Article 9, which is secured party creditor. Article 9, security agreement authenticated with the debtor, where you do your common law, copyright, and all of those things. That's an article that's governed under Article 9, the commercial law, if you will. A security interest is a private interest. It's just a private entitlement. It's like a right, a commercial right, if you will. That is what it is, and that's being registered under Article 8. So I was just drawing the distinction there. And that's why this would be a registration, because what is a security entitlement? It's simply a lien or a title on an asset. So that is why the first thing, and this is what's demonstrated here in the filing, is you have the affidavit of title, statement of beneficial ownership, and this of course would be attached to the certificate of live birth. And this is the heirloom certificate. And I talked about the heirloom certificate. So you can pause this and go watch the video about the heirloom certificate. But more importantly, to understand the heirloom certificate, watch that video and then cross-reference this. This is what you need to backward study. But first things know is there's the UCC filing, then the affidavit of title attached to this certificate, which would be recorded. It'll be recorded in the county first with a page and a book number on it. Because as I said in other videos, you want to have your asset first. And then there was something else I was going to mention about that. Oh yeah, I was going to say, so cross-reference this affidavit of title, and here, when you're at the county level recording this, make sure you go back and look at this response letter. This is a cover letter. It's actually a response letter, because as you see, when I first attempted to record the affidavit, I was rejected on the basis that the filing allegedly did not pertain to real estate. I've seen this in Georgia. I've seen this in Ohio. I've seen this in several other states. I also know several people are getting them recorded too. So a lot of this is going to depend on where you are. But I was telling you, go back and cross-reference this and this video, because I really broke that down. Between those two things, some more references that I would put in here. You have even this Kurt Kallenbach stuff down here. And Kurt Kallenbach is not a part of this. I just put some references because I think he has some, he has a good video. I think I put a reference to where he's talking about that. But really, more importantly, is the stuff that I put. These right here, breaking that down. Cross-reference that, because you may have to respond. Now, let me tell you something. I am learning. It is very important to expect to have to respond 1 or 2 times, no matter what you're doing. Already factor that in so that you don't feel defeated and that you don't abandon anything you're doing when they hit you with the first, we're not going to do it. Make sure when you respond, you come back with facts, conclusions of law. This stuff, I know I maybe make it look easy. For example, when you look at this cover letter, I never really talked about this. I'll probably talk about this in a follow-up video, pushing the issue part 2. But this was the cover letter, and what was I about to mention in this cover letter? I don't know. I got off the track. Maybe I'll get back on track. Anyway, back to the UCC filing. So what you see here is this would hypothetically be done first. It'll have the page and the book number on it, and that's the registration of an asset. QSIP search results. At one time when I was, I would now put these in here, because that's why I said you got to research the heirlooms, because you'll understand what an heirloom is. You'll understand what an heirloom is, and then you'll see how the QSIP are the funds. The funds are rising out of money loaned out of, laid out in the estate. It's all relative. It's all relative. Excuse me. Now this is important. All these things are behind the UCC. These are minutes of the initial trustee meeting of the John Allie Stowe Trust. Or I could have did a memorandum of trust. but it has to be evidence of the trust. It doesn't have to be, but I think you want these because these minutes tell who the trustee is, all the important information about the trust. This minute is basically a memorandum of the trust. This is exactly what it is. This talked about the whole establishment, the creation of the trust, the acceptance of the trustee, the offices, and it ends with the Schedule A. In the Schedule A lists the certificate of live birth with the affidavit of title, DD 214. You put the CUSIP numbers to these things if you've got the CUSIP research. Why? Because all these things, what are we doing? We're doing the initial registration showing that the trust is now titling and holding the estate. Right? Now you see IRS forms in here, which is something that wasn't in here before. Now I want to be real clear. This should go without saying. And if this is something that you didn't already know, it's just a hint for you that you are not ready to file. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not ready to do any of this. You just need to sit back and study a lot more, but you still have this as a reference. But what I was going to say is these obviously, all these IRS forms obviously have to go to the appropriate IRS office. They don't have to be behind a UCC filing at all. Some of you will put them behind the UCC filing for different reasons. I will put mine behind the UCC filings for different reasons. This is just one of the, the specific things that I'm doing that might not be so specific to you. But are these IRS forms important? Absolutely, they're important. Why? Because let's go back to the UCC. Because when we talk about an estate, my research is you don't have to go setting up a estate with the IRS to correct your status, because they already construe that an estate exists, and this is it. This is the estate right here, the all capital name that they draw upon, right? So this is the estate, and now we said you end up being the surety for the estate, but now we're correcting the status so we can be the secured party, the executor for the estate, operating trust or trustee operating the estate. And now that you've set this entity up, this separation, right? And this is, so think about this. So I'm going to say this. This isn't exact, but I'm going to say this so you can understand these IRS forms when we look at them again. You're creating a separation between the straw man and the private man, the Dojon, the last name first. So that separation is what we'll call a disregarded entity. This is disregarded from its owner. What does that mean? Disregarded means there are two separate things, right? But when you talk about disregarded entities in the IRS, it means they're gonna, when it comes to tax purposes, they'll only file one return. Don't worry about that if you didn't catch that, because I'm gonna explain that again. And again, of course, none of this is legal advice, sharing research. This is private between members, THT Trust. This is the conclusions that I've came to. So anyways, what I was trying to demonstrate is you're creating that first separation. This is the trust, and now it needs a tax ID number separate from the straw man's social insurance number, right? So then this is why these forms are important, because you're actually setting up this trust. You're designating, you're arranging, what is it, 8832, reclassifying. You're setting up this trust with the IRS. Now the thing is, now why are you setting this up? Because so where are we going with this? What are we doing? So now this is a deep part, and this is why you may need coaching one-on-one with somebody. I can direct you to them, and none of us are geniuses. We're just researching. Some of us are just seeing, like the brothers I research with have been researching this stuff way longer than I have. I'm the baby in the group when it comes to how many years, I've been studying this. But the thing is, when we're setting this up, when we're doing this filing that you're looking at, after this, the way that we do taxes, if we do taxes, should change permanently. There won't be any more filings in the Social Security number. There shouldn't be. There wouldn't be, right? Because now you would be using the trust. Why? Because you would have set the trust up as a disregarded entity. Now, from my research and understanding, basically what that's telling the IRS is, even though there's a social insurance number and a tax ID number for the trust, the IRS is going to treat them as one, as for filing purposes. So that means you only have to file one return. No more 1040, you can now file a 1041. You don't have to use your social security number on the form because you can use the new tax ID number for this managing trust entity down here, which might be a living trust. It might be a family trust. And I was just sitting here thinking, I set this up as a living trust because I'm doing the secured party and I'm a single man, if you will. Now, if I was like married, filing jointly, like I don't know, but if I well, I don't want to. If I was gonna make this a family trust, I guess what I'm trying to say is, you still gotta get it. If you're gonna do, you don't. I'm not gonna say you have to, but for different reasons, you may want to get a tax ID number for this, and you may want to reclassify the entity. So if you use the family trust here, you're gonna have to do some individual research on how you're going to express that, and I'll explain when I get down to the 8832 if I remember to. So let's go down there. So remember, we said we had to set up that trust, and by the way, this, many of you may have noticed, is not the Foreign Situs Trust, right? Well, I'm not going to say it's not. It is just a trust. Many of you already have a 98 series tax ID number or a foreign tax ID number, and I'm not saying that you need one, but if you do have one, I do see a place where it fits in very good, and I'm going to show you where the Foreign Situs Trust fits into this process because it's all in this filing right here. That's why I'm breaking it down a little bit slower than I wanted to, because I want to make sure you get it. First thing is, let's get the tax ID number for, I'm going to call this the living trust, but it may not be a living trust, okay? So I'm just going to call it that. So first thing would be the SS4 form. Now, I'll also say this again. All these IRS forms are going to go to their appropriate IRS office. But the reason why I'm going to keep a copy of all of my personal forms behind my UCC filing is just for private record purposes, and this is the whole picture. This is the everything right here. So it doesn't really matter what someone's construing. When I have all of this in my hand, I have the facts in my hand. It's not because these forms back here are going to necessarily, it's not specific that they have to be back there. So I just want to kind of get that clear. Okay, so the SS4 form, you can kind of study it, but when you fill out all the information here, I guess what's key is, notice that the social insurance is here because somebody has to insure obligations. These are obligations of the United States of America. This is not even your entity. This is the administrative agency, etc., etc. So you're setting up a trust to do that business, and you're setting up a separation. This is automatically a disregarded entity. This is the owner up here. Excuse me. This is the legal name of the entity that you are creating. This is the responsible party, or the surety, if you will. That's the insurance number. So you just created this separate trust. So you created this trust, right? Now you'll get a tax ID number. This is the trust that you always should have been operating from. Never really should have been operating from a guarantor insurance number, right? So this is the first trust that you should have been operating from in the first place. And do your own research on this. Don't quote me, and I'm just saying don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure I know what I'm talking about. And it's in my notes somewhere. But basically, just when you fill this out, because of the way that this is filled out, the IRS is gonna, when you get this new number that they issue you, whether you fax this in or you call them, they're gonna automatically treat these as one and the same for tax purposes. That means you can either just continue to file your taxes as normal, or you can stop filing this number and start using this new number, and they're going to be treating them the same, right? That was what I understood. And if I'm wrong, correct me. But I don't think I'm wrong. I've read it. Go read it. You'll find the same thing. Why is that important? Because a lot of people don't understand, well, now should I file with my social after I set up the trust in a secured party, or should I use the new number? Do I have to file 2 returns now? From my research and study, the IRS, once you do this type of SS4 form, they're treating these two as the same. Which number are they expecting you to return with? Does it matter? I don't know. I think that me moving forward, we've come to the determination that it only makes sense that we have to file with the trust now. We've pretty much collapsed and merged the title of the administrative estate, which was this, into the possession of the trustee. So this could all be done on the trustee's number, which that's what's going to be this right here. So, but now the question is, they're going to probably give you a domestic type of number, or let's not call it a domestic number, but it's definitely not going to be a 98 series number, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but I just want to say, no matter what it is, this is why the next forms are 8832s. 8832s are entity classification election. So irregardless of what is assigned, this is how you establish records of the classification of the entity. Now, in this particular regard, what I want to show you is most important. We're reclassifying the tax ID number that was just issued from the last SS4 form, and this is where the owner comes in. This is where I use my 98. Who is the owner of that? I use the foreign situs trust as the owner. So I'm already telling you that's the owner. Now, I don't want you to get it twisted. We didn't do an 8832 on this right here. We didn't do that. And we didn't do an 8832 on this to tell the IRS that this owns this. That was automatically done just by the filing of the SS4 form. That's why I said you got to go do that other research. That's an overkill that's not needed. Once you file the trust on that estate, it's an automatic thing. They're only expecting the trust to do a return. They're out. Now, you got to say who owns that trust. This is where you get in your foreign situs owner. So that's what's important here. And once again, typically your 98 foreign situs trusts are tax exempt and they have no obligation to file anyway. You could look at that, Jonah Bay stuff. I think he did some old videos where he kind of talks about that. But there is no obligation, and you already know that. So once again, when you're designating it as a foreign eligible entity, right there, because there's a foreign owner, electing to be disregarded as a separate entity. So what's that disregarded again? For taxing purposes, it won't be filing a separate return. It's going to be disregarded as separate from its owner for tax purposes, meaning just the owner. Just the owner, or just one. There'll just be one filing. So I say that one filing. I don't like the idea of putting a foreign situs trust. From our research, my team, everything that we file moving forward, we will do the 8832s. Make sure we designate the owner. But the tax ID numbers that we'll be using on returns, whether those returns be 1041s, 706s, 709s, we would be using the trust's tax ID number, the first secured party trust, not the owner's number, which is the foreign situs number. All right, so I hope that makes sense. The other important things is the Form 56, creating the separation of the living man doing the trustee work, executor, executrix work. So the Form 56, just like with the old secure party creditor, the power of attorney, the 2848. These are critical to get these on file because you just set up the vessels, you just set up the trust. Now you're showing them who you are as far as being authorized to have the authority. Operating in trust is what corrects your status and puts you in a different situation. Now, another thing I want to say, put you in appropriate status so you can do all of these things that you're dreaming about and you're hearing about that can be done. It's also important that you go off the standard when you use these trust registration statements, when you fill out your IRS forms, that you really make sure everything is matching up, because you do want this stuff, because actually all of this stuff is linking in through other systems. You know what I'm saying? The IRS will pick up on your UCC filings. Dun & Bradstreet picks up on UCC filings when they're done the right way. Many people are not doing them the right way. Of course, I'm demonstrating to you how to do them the right way. All right? So I'm going to finish. I'm going to call that's pretty much it. So you understand. Oh, let me say something real quick about numbers. Obviously, this number here is the number on the birth certificate. Sometimes this right here, you can look in here. What I actually did, somebody's gonna have a question about this. I'm not gonna go through this, but when you go through the affidavit of title, I actually looked up real estate, the hospital for where the birth registration and the act took place, and I got the parcel ID because we have to address this matter. If you have to address this matter that doesn't pertain to real estate, you'll understand. You'll understand why I wrote that in there. But you got to go read the cover letter and watch that video, and you'll better understand how this is broken down with the heirlooms and all. Let's see. Is there anything else that needs to be said? There could be some personal discretion here, whether you're going to put your whole trust indenture here, a memorandum of trust. All right. So I think I hit everything. Let me go back to the top, see if there's anything else needs to be said. No, nothing else needs to be said. Let me just read through this box 4 real quick, and I'm going to close it out. This registration establishes the securities account for the entitlements enclosed and held in trust with all right, title, and interest in common under Fund FBNDX Fidelity Investment Grade Bond under CUSIP number, etc., net valued at $940 billion as of April 29, 2017, including the associated chattels, electronic chattels, assignments, instruments deposited hereto attached as follows. Enclosure 1, affidavit of title attached to certificate number, whatever. Enclosure 2, CUSIP search results. Enclosure 3, etc., etc. You get it. Registration of a security entitlement. Look up what you don't understand. Join a study group. Get a coaching session with myself or perhaps one of my colleagues. I got to put them on because I got brothers that know more than I do in some regards, right? And I study with them, and I need to start, we're going to start expanding this organization. I'm about to start doing some amazing things, so I hope this is enough to hold y'all over. Stay tuned. More guidance in regard to the secured party creditor side of this is going to be given. Really, this is the most important. You can get by with just this. You may not even have to do this, but I am going to be thorough. We're going to go through the secured party filing. I'm telling you that this is more superior. What we've just discussed and what we've just demonstrated up here is far more superior. So anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed.